Hey everyone, and welcome to the Beyond Life and Fitness podcast. I'm Cheryl Patton.
And I'm Meaghan Prince.
We started this podcast as a way to connect with more people who are struggling to fit it all in. The workouts, the food, kids, work, and relationships.
We know that we're not perfect, but we hope that through our struggles and our mistakes and our failures and our successes that we can help more people through their challenges and be successful. So if you want some tips and tricks to help you along your journey to be the best version of yourself, then this is it.
Hey everybody, and we are back. Episode number 4. And today, you find that funny? Episode number 4?
No, that was like so energetic. I loved it. By the time we're at the 4th, you're like so into it.
We're on this.
I love it.
So today we are talking about perceptions, and the topic kind of came up based on an Instagram story that I had posted. And I'm going to read what I had posted on my story. And it says, if your perception is you have to eat a treat after dinner, you're going to eat the damn treat. If your perception is dieting or eating healthy will suck, it's going to suck. If your perception is you always gain the weight back, you will keep yo-yo dieting. Your perceptions determine your success. And Henry Ford had a very similar quote as well that ties into this, and it's, whether you think you can or think you can't, you are right. So perception basically always falls back onto how you think and how you process your environment around you. Our perceptions definitely create who we are, and we use our senses, so our sense of sight, smell, taste, touch, to gather information from our environment, from our world around us, and then we use that information to create the view of our world and of our environment that we live in. It's how we make sense of our environment. So one example, which has absolutely nothing to do with fitness, is if you were, say, bullied in school and picked on, belittled, and you sort of stuff all those emotions down, you go and get a job as an adult and you have a coworker that makes you feel how that bully made you feel. So small, made you feel belittled, that you weren't important. You're going to have all those emotions from your childhood, your childhood you come right back up. And you're either going to lash out in defense of yourself, or you're going to get small again and hide because that's what you feel is safe. And then if you tie that into fitness, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved that quote that you started out with, right? Because I think so much comes in the fitness world of people thinking, if I start something, then I'm not going to be able to eat this, or I'm going to not have energy, or I'm going to never be able to go with my friends again, or have a glass of wine, or anything like that. So I think when people are starting something, it's always going to be on how they're going to think about it. And it's just like placebo effects when we're talking about things like taking a pill for something. If you think that it's going to work, it's going to work. Mm-hmm. If you think that it's not going to work, it's 100% not going to work. Because even medically, if that pill you take changes something in your body and makes something like takes a disease away or takes something away from you, but if you believe that it's not going to do that, then 100% I feel like it's not going to, it's no matter how potent, no matter how strong it is, your body is going to fight 100% on if that's going to change your body. So I think going into things, people are always so skeptical on diets or programs or things or supplements or things that, because people will go, and the funny part is like I work for Isogenics, but the funny part is people will just go and Google. They're like, oh, okay, I'll go Google it. And I'm like, that's awesome. Go Google it for sure. But the thing is that for the people that can't not make decisions on their own, but for people that they want to find a reason for it not to work. So they will go onto Google and they will find the reason to be like, well, a lot of people tried it, they didn't like it. Or a lot of people did this and they didn't like it. And I'm like, I get that 100%. But each person is going to be different in what they respond to. So another person could do the same training program, the same diet, and then look 100% different, like you and me. You and me could do the exact same diet, we could eat the same amount of food, we could do the same training, but we both look 100%. We would look similar, but we would be 100% different. So I think when it comes down to the fitness world, 100% is that if you think it's not going to work for you, then it's not going to work for you, because your body as much as you don't think it can feel all of the things that your mind is doubting. So when you start a diet, when you start something and you're like, oh, this isn't going to work, 100% it won't work, because not only are you not going to fully commit to it, but you're also not going to, your body is like totally
it's going to fight it.
It's fighting it off, right? So I think when it comes down to fitness and perception, it's all about trusting the process, being patient, and I think those are, and being consistent, right? Being consistent, because you can't say something's not working if you're not actually doing it. That's and right. If you're not doing it consistently and for a long enough period of time, 100%. It's like, oh, this isn't working for me. And I think it was,
and that goes back to the whole, like, everybody, like, we live in an Amazon Prime world. People want things the next day,
right?
And unfortunately, changing your health, changing your fitness does not happen the Amazon Prime way. It doesn't.
No.
It can't. It takes time, and as you said, it takes consistency. And I'd rather somebody be consistent at a new habit one day a week than nothing.
Right.
And then grow on it from there. Right? And then grow from one day down to up to 2, and then up to 3.
Right.
And then before you know it, it's something that you're doing every day, whether it's eating protein at every meal, or having a vegetable at every meal, or not having anything to drink Monday through Friday and only on the weekends. And then they'll add in something else because they realize, oh, this is actually making me feel better, feel good. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I love when people are like, oh, well, it's just so easy for her because that's her job. Or it's just so easy for her because, I don't know, something, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I think sometimes people look at me and think that I just woke up like this one day, right? And my family, a lot of my mom's side of the family, struggle with weight. So it wasn't an easy thing for me to do this. For me to get back to the gym when my kids were 6 weeks old and really focus on a diet and train 4 days a week, that hard. Stuff was not easy. So it's like people are like, oh, it's got to be easy for them. It's got to be easy for them. And you're like, and now I think before it was like you'd look at those girls and think, oh, like, you know, we would think the same thing. And now when I change my perception on things, I'm like, God, sometimes I'll just walk up to a girl in the gym and be like, dude, your butt looks so good, because I appreciate what they're putting into it, and I appreciate that it takes time, and I appreciate that she just didn't wake up one day and, you know, look like that. So you, like, being able to change your perception and know that other people have, that it doesn't just happen. It has to be consistent. You have to be patient with yourself, and you have to trust the process. And if you don't do that, then I think that's where people fail, right? Because I've had a couple clients say to me, but I could never look like that, or I could never be that person. But if you believe that you will never be that person and you will never look like that person, then I guarantee you that you won't. And that's a really hard thing to tell somebody, right? Because it's like, it's going back down into our inner child, like you talked about before, and really digging deep into why do we think that we could never be that person. It's digging down, and is like, did something happen? Some sort of a micro or macro trauma happen to create that perception of the world. And if you constantly, if you doubt that you're able to accomplish something based on a thought process that you have,
then yeah, you're gonna find ways to make sure that it doesn't happen. Right? So that's like when people are Googling or searching up, right, for like, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's supplements, whether it's training, whether it's diet, like they're gonna find what their mind is looking for to prove that they are right and that it's not possible.
Right.
So it's and so it's very easy then when you're in that mindset to always play the victim, and that it's not my fault, it's my genes, it's I've got no support system, I can't afford a gym membership, I can't afford to buy all the healthy whole food. It doesn't even have to be organic. It's cheaper for me to go out and get fast food than it is for me to go to a grocery store and buy all the meat and all the vegetables and what have you.
And so you and me both know that that's not true, because I go to the market on the weekends with my daughters now, and we'll even get organic stuff. $35, and I'm walking out 2 full bags of vegetables.
100%.
Like I'm not, and then we buy sourdough bread or something, which is $6, which is like
so good.
A little bit more expensive. But we went to Spicer's Bakery yesterday, and we got a light rye one, which was probably $5.99, but it was bigger. So so I think they think eating healthier is more expensive, but it's actually not. It's just that it's going to take more time to prepare it. It's going to take more time to make a meal plan or put it together
100%.
than to go to McDonald's. But McDonald's and Subway, like when I take the kids to Subway or Pita Pit,
it's expensive.
3 pitas for them plus a drink or whatever is like $40, and I could make literally like one of them.
Yeah.
She used to, now she's better, would just get a veggie and put cucumbers, lettuce, cheese, and tomatoes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I just spent $10 on this.
Yeah. You could have bought the pitas and all of that and spent half of that amount of money.
10 pitas are $2 at the grocery store.
Right.
And then you just buy the lettuce and vegetables. So, it's in perception, because if you actually write it down, if you actually say, like, if you actually write something down and say, this is how much my meals are going to cost this week, and this is how much if all of us go out to McDonald's this whole week, if you wrote that down, you would be able to see that on fast food you would spend, because if you're going to a restaurant too, once a week you go to the restaurant, you're paying for the seat, you're paying for the waiter, you're paying for the plates, you're paying for all of their, like,
the overhead,
the overhead. So if you, so
and you have no control over the food. Like, you may be thinking that you're getting a great salad and a great, like, a leaner cut of meat, but you're not in the back of the kitchen seeing how it's prepared and what's being added to the food so that it tastes beyond amazing. Right? Which is usually added fat and added salt.
Because you're like, this chicken breast tastes way better than I make at home. And you're like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Because... Right. So I think, people perceive in their heads that eating healthy is really expensive, but a bag of rice, like 10-pound bag of rice, you can get on sale for $6.88
and will last you
forever. Right.
Yes.
So like rice, like those cheap sort of things, right? Yeah. So I think it definitely comes down to perception of like what's actually true and what are you finding in order to validate what you want it to say to you, right? So
exactly,
you know what I mean? Go on and you'll check something out, like, because you can find a negative and a positive about everything. If you go on and check about a lump that you have on your leg, you could be dying, or it could be amazing, and then you, like, something like a special human being living in your leg or something. I don't know. Like, it could be like superpower or something that's your superpower. Yeah. But like, it could all be perceived at like what you think. And I think as a person who was living, I would say, with anxiety, I don't even know if it was anxiety of more that I was just projecting what I thought in my head was wrong or something. I remember being a kid and I've had a headache. And I was like, oh my God, I have a brain tumor, like right away. And it was like, then you go down this rabbit hole of I'm dying. What am I going to do? And and now I remember, like, as I'm getting older, when you have those thoughts, when you have things that you're perceiving are bad, you can actually like change them.
Yes.
And be like, oh, it could be like, a couple weeks ago I threw out my back. And I thought to myself, my whole life's over. I'm never going to be able to lift again. What am I going to do? one whole day I cried, and that was fine. And then the next day I got up and I was like, you know what, Meg, though? Okay, so what are you going to do? So if you could never go to the gym again, what are you going to do? Like, what is your life look like? So I wrote down, what do I love about myself? What do I have to offer the world? What am I grateful for? And how can I stay active? And I thought all those things in my head, and I was like, you're going to be fine. So it's like, you can perceive this back injury, car accident, all these things as something super negative, or else you can use them as your, what's the word? You're going to have to help me.
You can totally...
Motive.
Yeah. Like,
motivation.
You have the power to decide what is and what isn't. Right? So you just have to start being more conscious of your thoughts and of your default excuses.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right? That just happen naturally by default because you've been using them for years. Right? So becoming aware of them, stopping yourself when you see yourself using them, and then figuring out a way to rewrite that narrative. And it doesn't happen overnight. Like, it takes time. It's gonna take days, weeks, months, years, depending on how many of these default excuses you use on a daily basis.
Because you're fighting. Like, you have to almost, like, it's like you have to do the opposite of what you feel like doing almost. Some days,
exactly.
Like, just, it'll feel so uncomfortable.
Awkward. Yep.
And uncomfortable. And you're not, and you're going to be like, oh my God, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? I don't know. Just, it's those moments of fear and second guessing yourself where there's so much growth.
Yeah, exactly. So, sort of 3 different ways that you can start changing your perception is just that mindfulness that I said, right? So being aware of those default excuses that you are using all the time. The other one is just recognizing what naturally flows for you. So what are those general thoughts, feelings, your complaints, those inner critics, which we talked about in episode number 2, your emotions and how you react to certain situations, and sort of ask yourself, is the way that you are looking at the situation benefiting you or not?
So powerful.
So, but it's going to take time for you to sort of stop yourself in the tracks and see, okay, is how I am reacting to this situation, is it going to help my life, or is it going to take away from my life?
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the last one is then to finally make that shift. So meaning you are consciously finding that silver lining, whatever that situation is. And like I said, it's going to take time, and the silver lining might not be very much, right? And then starting to focus on, or starting to shift your focus from one of blame and using excuses to one of taking charge. Taking charge over how you are perceiving the world, your environment, the people around you, your situations, how you react to situations, other people. So yeah, and it takes time. And I know, like, for sure, like, this is something that I have definitely been working on now for over maybe almost 3 years.
Yeah,
for sure, right? Like, catching myself in little things, like, why am I overreacting to this?
And does it matter? And for the people, or the people that you're trying to maybe impress or make like you, you're like, do I really, like, does it really matter that they like me or they validate me?
Right.
Because are they intertwined so much in my life that they have the say in what my self-worth is and who I am and all that kind of stuff? And I listened to this podcast today, which was like amazing, and this guy was holding up this dollar bill, and he was saying, how much is this dollar bill? How much is this dollar bill? It's $1. It's $1. Everybody's saying it's $1. And he's like, okay, well, what if I take this dollar bill and I just scrunch it up? And they're like, it's still $1. What if I take this dollar bill and I step on it? And they're like, it's still $1. What if I take this dollar bill and I stuff it in the trash and I put it in a hot dog and a homeless man's like squishing his hands in it and whatever. And he's like, it comes down to everything in the world, your perception, how you gauge things, how you feel about yourself comes down to your self-worth. And that dollar is your self-worth. And no matter how much you're punched, no matter how much you're squished in ketchup and hot dogs and stepped on, that you're still worth that dollar. But the problem is that the stepped on, the scrunched up, the ketchup that's all over us, we let that consume us, and we let it, say if we had like pores open, all those things are squishing all of our pores, and they're like blocking us from being able to actually see who we are, what we can give the world, and our perception of ourselves. So it was like so cool to be like, yeah, you're still worth that dollar. It's just all those things that you just need to now get
all the
up.
things that have messed you up.
Yeah.
Still have not devalued who you are as a person. And social media is horrible for this right now. Absolutely horrible. Right?
Yeah.
Right. You've got kids who are going on social media at very young ages. They're seeing, all these pictures of teenagers and people in their 20s, and they're like, okay, so this is how I should be looking. This is how I should be dressing. This is how, and if I don't look this way, dress this way, act this way, then I am not worth the same amount. And climbing back out of that hole is hard, especially if you're constantly subjecting yourself to that. And that's what kids do. Like, they're on it all day, and sometimes for hours at a time.
It was like, what if you, like, I don't know where I read it or saw it, but what if you just accepted yourself the way that you are right now, as you are, like, without wanting to change yourself, without wanting to do anything. If you just accepted who you are at this point in your life, what I've realized is that the people that you actually want in your life, because you're being authentically you, will come and they will stay. And it's the ones that you are always trying to impress, and it was so exhausting all the time, and you're like, why was I doing this for years? Right? But it was our perception that we needed to be a certain person, be a part of a certain crowd, right? Because that's what society has taught us, is that you're supposed to be this, you're supposed to be this. And like, even as fitness trainers, right, like you and me, like this perception that we always have to have a six-pack and we always have to be like, I remember like a long time ago, my husband would send me to the grocery store, and he would, like, because he loves chips, or he would be on the way home, can you pick up Wendy's or something for me? And I'm like, oh God, every single time, I'm almost telling you, that I would see a client or somebody would see me, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that you made me do that. They saw me getting chips. And then, like, the whole time I'm thinking, but like, what does it matter? Just because I'm a fitness person doesn't mean
you're not human.
That I'm not human, that I can't, like, eat a chip or something. And then that perception on me from other people made me think that, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Or I'd be at a party, and I remember somebody once was like, oh my God, did you just eat a chip? And then I was like,
have so had that happen.
Right? And then you're like,
you're having a drink, and I'm like, I'm not a big drinker to begin with, to be honest. I'd rather eat my calories than drink them. Like, that's just me. But like, like sometimes, and I'm just, but I have honestly, like, felt if I'm going out to dinner and there's a group, or we're at like a friend's house and there's a group, and I'm like, okay, so people know what I do for a living. I know they're watching what I'm doing. Or maybe that's just me thinking that.
But not if you get those comments. Because I would be like, if I get those comments that, wow, you just ate a chip, or are you eating that piece of cake? And I'm like, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't be. Or maybe it's like society puts this pressure on you that there's this perception that you're this perfect person that you like. But it's us having to fight those things that society tells us. And that's really hard, right? It's like somebody telling you, like,
you can't be a trainer, you don't have a six-pack.
Or like and then
or your shoulders aren't big enough.
Or like a really mean comment, and then being like, well, just pretend I didn't say that. Well, I can't really pretend you didn't just say that because
I
like
just
heard it and now it's in my head and I can't take it out. So yeah, it's just, I think taking that perception of what the world thinks you need to be and who they think you need to be.
Yeah.
And then it's like from every angle we're fighting it, right? Because people are like, I don't want to do that diet because it's not going to work, or my friend did the diet because it's not going to work, or I'm not going to meal prep because I'm not a fitness person so I don't need to, or I will never look that way because I'm not her and I can't do the things that she can do. So it's every day we have to almost like reset ourselves to back to factory reset ourselves back to the beginning.
Yes.
And
and it takes time, right? So like catching yourself, I can't meal prep, and then like, okay, wait a second, maybe I can try this like for the next 2 nights. Right. Like I'll go and get a pre-roasted chicken. So I got a whole chicken already cooked, ready to go. And maybe I'll get a bag salad to go
so
with it.
Start super easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because dieting doesn't have to be, I'm running a 6-week program like you are right now too, and people are saying like, I'm now that I'm tracking my macros and tracking how much I eat, I feel like I'm really paying attention to what I'm eating, and I'm like, yeah, but first of all, we should pay attention to what we're putting into our body because it's the fuel for our body. But then take your day and what you're eating, what you ate before, whatever you ate before, enter it into the calculator, figure out kind of what your day looked like, and then maybe you need to just like switch a couple things or take out a couple things here and there or whatever. But it's not like the perception of dieting and being fit and healthy. It doesn't have to be like
a complete 360.
Complete 360. Let's just do little tiny things on a daily consistent basis. And that will get us the results, right? Like you said.
Now it's sustainable.
Anything that's sustainable.
Right? You're sustainable, you're going to do it. It's not sustainable, you're not going to do it.
Right. How many people do 2 weeks and say it's not working? Because it's not sustainable. They've now 360'd their whole life to get here. Yeah. If you think it's not going to work, then it's not going to work, and you won't be successful, right? Because it's all going into the mindset of, oh my God, this is going to be awesome. Yeah. Instead of going in being like, oh God, I'm going to fail. Yeah. Go in and be like, this is going to be awesome, and no matter what results I get, that's progress.
100%.
And that's success.
100%.
Right? Your success doesn't have to be somebody else's perception of, at the end of the 6 weeks, you should have lost 30 pounds. How about you just think that I'm going to be healthier, I'm taking care of my body, and
I've learned to move my body on a regular basis. I've learned to put more whole foods into my body. I've learned how to still have those dinner outs, those cakes, those glasses of wine, and still not have me go down the rabbit hole of all those bad habits. I'm able to do that. The next meal, next day, I'm back onto my normal breakfast that I would always have, my normal lunch that I would always have, same with the dinners, right? Learning how to navigate life's ups and downs, life's parties, because they're all always going to happen.
Well, and you must know with clients, like, honestly, people like, I don't want to start now because I have this. I don't want to do this now. I don't want to do this now.
And we both know there's never a perfect time. Never.
And actually, was it you that said the perfect time was to do it when things are really stressful? Yep. Because then you come out of it and then you're like, oh my God.
This is a piece of cake.
This is a piece of cake. I got this stuff now. Like, what was I thinking before?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think our biggest like takeaway from this is that if you go into something knowing that you're going to succeed and being excited about something, because everybody can see something differently, right? Everybody can see something, oh my gosh, that's so negative, I can't do this. The other person can be like, oh, this is exciting. Like, I'm gonna start something, I'm going to change my life a little bit, I'm going to make changes here and there, and all the days that I wake up and think I'm failing or I'm not doing good at something, I'm like, but what progress have you made? Like, tell yourself you are doing good because you're doing better than you were yesterday. So it doesn't mean that you have to be successful in like 4 or 6 whatever weeks. Just, are you doing better than you were doing the day before, right?
100%. Yeah. I think that's the perfect place to end.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next podcast. Thanks everybody for listening today, and we truly appreciate you. And let us know what your biggest takeaway was today, and if you have any questions you want answered on the podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast to automatically receive your episodes and to help us reach more listeners. We would love to connect with you on our socials, either Facebook or Instagram, with links in the show notes. Till next time, keep taking those small steps towards your best life.